Shalom. So, touching on the whole UK situation again, just quickly, this article came out that said, are the signs indicating that the UK is undergoing a revolution? After colonizing and enslaving the subcontinent of India for centuries, all for the needs of the empire, the United Kingdom has finally shown signs that they are embracing change and willing to work together. This after the UK elected its first Indian Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. Sunak was elected on one of the most auspicious occasions of the Hindu calendar year, Diwali. Sunak is the second politician of Asian descent to assume a leading role in the UK after London Mayor Sadiq Khan. With Khan in London and Sunak at 10 Downing Street, both of whom are followers of Islam and Hindu religions, respectively, it could mean that the Brits have finally accepted change. Today, a Muslim is Mayor of London and a Hindu is Prime Minister of the UK. Embracing change or a revolution? Now, that was the article, and they're very excited about how awesome and inclusive this is. Let me just take you back a little bit. Most Britons today are absorbed in our post-Christian world and doubt that God even exists, right? Let alone guides world events. That the people of Britain 80 years ago collectively asked for divine guidance and acknowledged their dependence upon God's supreme power seems bizarre and backward to most of them today. The chief of the British Air Staff went and asked a point-blank question of the Air Chief Marshal Sir Hugh Dowding in World War II, the Commander-in-Chief of Fighter Command. What are your plans for defeating an overwhelming number of the German Air Force? His reply, I believe in God, and then there is radar. The British nation as a whole was a very religious, God-fearing nation in World War II. They prayed collectively, they called on God collectively, and if you go and look, you'll find tons and tons of testimonies and miracles that happen, especially during the Battle of Britain and with the fact that Hitler never pushed through with his invasion. Had he focused and stayed focused on the fighter bases, he would have destroyed the RAF completely. And then he would have been able to invade and take over the UK as a whole. Everything kept changing and chopping, including the weather, which was supposed to be fine, that turned against him. God answered the prayer of the people in their time of distress because they called on Him, and they were a Christian nation at that time. There are so many stories, but the one that comes to my mind that I was told as a small child, which really, because I was very interested in aviation, always have been. There was an air base, and they got the warning that there was an overwhelming force of German aircraft on their way, bombers and fighters, hundreds of aircraft. They had 2 or 3 planes that they could get off the ground at that stage. Heavily depleted, major losses, repairs, and they decided what to do is to pray. So everyone needed to pray, and they got everyone praying, and these pilots, these brave men, jumped in their fighter planes, took off, and went towards this enemy force. Now, the RAF pilots' story is they were approaching this unstoppable force, hundreds and hundreds of planes, and they were preparing to die. And they gave themselves over to God, and they were going to go in and do their bit. It wouldn't make any difference, and this would be the end of it. But as they approached the enemy was routed. Squadrons started breaking up and peeling off in different directions. Bombers twisted and turned to get away. They were reacting in fear, the way that the British should have been reacting. And while they were fleeing, these guys had a field day, shooting down planes as they went. And the whole flight that was coming towards the UK turned and rushed away. Now, of the pilots that were shot down that time, the testimony continues that they questioned them and said, what went wrong? You had overwhelming odds against us. You could have wiped us out of the sky. We were barely even a pinprick, and you fled. And the German pilots, all of them that they interviewed, were very confused. And they said, what are you talking about? You're lying. Up ahead of us in the sky were thousands and thousands of British fighters. Everywhere we looked was just British fighters. Overwhelmingly so. We didn't stand a chance. And that was all just God. Now, from that time of relying on God and amazing testimonies and thanksgiving days of prayer that they did and everything, to now, that we're celebrating Hindu and Islam leading the country forward into a time of tribulation. Yes, it sounds about right, but it is really sad from where they were to where they are now. And I know there are still many believers in the UK, and you are seen. You are seen. God sees you, and you will be removed before the judgment falls. I hope that blessed you and that you realize God answers prayers and He does watch over the righteous. God bless. Have a great day. Shalom.